In this video, we're going to rebuild another game mechanic that's inspired by games like Super Meat Boy and Hollow Knight, while jumping and sliding. So in order to get working on this, I have a very basic tile map set up here with a character. My collision layers on the tile map are on layer 1, and my character body 2D is going to be on layer 2. I have a really basic script set up as well. It has gravity, jumping, and movement for left and right. We also have a camera following our player, and we also have our collision shape 2D setup. So to start working on the wall jump, we're going to need a few other constants in order for us to do this. We're going to have a constant for what we're going to call a wall jump push, which is a float equal to 250. We're going to have another constant, which is the wall jump disable time, which is also a float, and it's going to equal to 0.2. So the wall jump push is going to be the horizontal force when we're wall jumping, or in other words, how far we're going to jump from the wall. And the disable time is going to be a brief moment where horizontal input is ignored after wall jumping. So this can help us prevent accidental movement cancellation. We are going to need two other variables. We're going to have what we're going to call last wall, which is a vector2, and we'll default that to just vector2.0. And another variable of our wall jump timer, which is a float, and we'll do 0.0. So the last wall is going to store the direction of the last wall that we touched, and then the wall jump timer is going to count down the time where the horizontal input is disabled. And these two things are just going to help us track the various state of our wall jump and just help with better feel. So inside of the physics process, we need to first set up our wall jump timer. So we'll do if our wall jump timer is greater than 0, we'll do wall jump timer minus equals delta. And this wall jump timer is going to tie in to our wall jump disable time, which we're going to implement further down in this script. After we're working on the gravity here, inside of this if not is on floor block, we need to have the start of our wall detection. So we're going to create a variable called wall normal, and this is going to equal get wall normal. So there's a built-in godot method for us. And this is just going to get the normal direction of the wall that we're actually going to be touching. To check if we're first on a wall, our velocity.y is greater than 0, and the absolute value of our wall normal on the x-axis is greater than 0.9. 1 would be a perfect line, straight up and down. We're just giving it a little bit of leeway so that we can properly catch all walls that we're going to need to. And then we need to check if our wall normal doesn't equal our last wall. We're going to play our animated sprite. Going to play and the jump animation, and then we're going to get our animated sprite, flip on the H, equal to the wall normal dot x is less than 0. We need to add an else block here outside on the if is on wall, and we're just going to check if the velocity dot y is greater than 0, animated sprite dot play jump. And just for a little bit of context, this is my animated sprite, and this is my jump animation. I don't know if you can see this, but it's just my guy's cape is flickering a little bit. So basically, whenever we're moving up and down in our jump, we want the cape to be flickering. Then lastly, outside of the if not is on floor block, we need to add an else, and we need to reset our last wall to be equal to vector2.0. So we reset the wall tracking whenever we're landing. So in this block, this is where we're doing our jump logic. So we also need to add in the wall jump logic. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to add a check for if we're on the floor. And if we're on the floor, then we're just going to do our normal jump. Then we need to do a wall jump check. So we're going to do an elif is on wall, and the absolute value of get wall normal dot x is greater than 0.9. So we're checking if we're on a wall and on a vertical wall, not just a small slope. Then we can start tapping into our wall jump physics, which is velocity.y is going to equal to our jump velocity Then we're going to get another variable for our wall normal equal to get wall normal. We do velocity dot x is going to equal to wall normal dot x times the wall jump push. So this is how we're going to actually push away from the wall every time that we hit jump while we're on a wall. Then we can have some visual updates. So we're going to get our animated sprite. We'll play the jump animation. We have to do our animated sprite. We have to flip H. It's going to equal our wall normal dot x less than 0. Again, if your sprites are defaulting looking in different ways, you might have to tweak the greater than or less than for the flip H on our animated sprite. And then we need to do some state updates. So we're going to get the last wall. It's going to equal to the wall normal. And then the wall jump timer is going to equal to the wall jump disable time. So this is how we're going to actually start tying in the wall jump disable time here, which again is just the brief period of time where horizontal input is ignored after we wall jump. So we have our horizontal direction set up here, but we need to modify this a little bit. So let's get our wall jump timer. I'm going to less than equal to 0. Then we're going to bump this if direction into that block, but we are still going to make some changes. So let's just put that down there for right now. If we have a direction, let's get our velocity.x. We're going to equal to move to, not move and slide, we're going to move toward. Give it velocity.x, and give it our direction times our speed, comma, speed. We're going to multiply that by 0.15. So this is going to just give us smooth acceleration when we're moving, and the 0.15 factor creates these slight ramp up to our full speed. So we can get rid of this. We still are going to need this line, the if we're on the floor, then we're going to play our run, and then this can also stay the same. But then we want to have different deceleration based on whether we're in the ground or whether we're in the air. So the first check that we're going to have is we are going to just check if we're on the floor. And we're just going to set our velocity.x equal to 0. So we're going to have an instant stop on the ground. This makes it, in my opinion, more responsive. Otherwise, we're going to do a velocity.x, which is going to equal the move toward, which I had up in a different line. So it's going to be the velocity.x 0, but we're also going to multiply our speed by 0.05. So that's going to give us a gradual slowdown, not an instantaneous slowdown while we're in the air. And then lastly, we're still in this bigger else block here. We're going to check if we are on the floor. That is when we're going to play our animated sprites idle animation. And then move and slide can just still function as normal. Let's just do one last look over this. Okay, this is actually a redundant is on the floor. We're already checking for that. And I think we should be good. So let's test this. There we go. So I jump, and then when I press space, I immediately launch in the other direction. Obviously, this is a pretty stark and aggressive jump, but it still does work. You can tweak those values, but for demonstration purposes, this is how we're going to do it. So now we can do this all up and down these walls. So if that's all you want, feel free to tap out here, but we are going to go into wall sliding and add a little bit of coyote time for our jump, so it makes the feel a lot smoother and it's more forgiving to our players when we jump off of a platform. So we're going to need two more constants. We're going to have a constant for our wall slide speed, which is a float. I'm just going to give it a value of 100 for right now. And we're going to give it a coyote time, which is a float, and we're going to do 0.1. So obviously this is our max speed when we're sliding down the walls. And then this is the amount of time that we're allowing. If you're not familiar with coyote time, it's the amount of time where jumping is still allowed after you fully leave a platform. We're going to need two new variables as well in relation to coyote time. So we're going to get a coyote timer. We're going to set this to a float of 0. And we're going to do a was on floor variable, which is a bool. And we're going to default this to false. So we're just going to track how long we've been off the ground here. And we're going to need this to prevent coyote time after our wall jumps. So after the wall jump timer update, this is where we're going to handle the coyote time management. So we're going to do another if we're on floor check. Then we're going to set our coyote timer equal to the coyote time. And then was on floor can equal to true. After this, we need to do an elif, and we do was on floor, coyote time, minus equals delta. And then we're going to do if coyote timer is less than or equal to 0, was on floor is going to equal to false. So we just allow our character to technically not be on the floor. We're telling this script that it's on the floor for the amount in the coyote timer. In this if block is where we're going to be implementing the actual wall slide logic. So let me bring up the wall normal here. We already have this. So after we've decided that we're going to flip the sprite, we want to do our velocity.y equal to the minimum of the velocity.y and our wall slide speed. So this is how we're going to create our controlled wall speed. So we're going to limit the fall speed when we're on walls. We also have to go into our jump logic here, and we have to update this a little bit. We need to also check if our coyote timer is greater than 0 and was on floor. We need to prevent exploiting coyote time for double jumps. So we're going to check for was is on floor equal to false, coyote timer back to 0. And that should be it. We should be able to check out our walls sliding now. We're going to have to, there we go. So we're moving a little bit slower now when we hug the wall. So let's go all the way up here. Oop. And I start sliding down. So that's it. That's all you're going to have to do to implement wall jumping and wall sliding. So not that much if you want to add this into your game.